Today's episode is sponsored by Pacific Sensi. Hey everybody, you may not know this about me, but I suffer from PTSD. And because of that, I need help. Pacific Sensi is a boutique farm in Oregon that grows top shelf quality hemp flower. Hemp flower looks, smells, and smokes like weed, except it's low in THC, so it doesn't get you high. Pacific Sensi flower is loaded with CBD so you can enjoy the benefits of cannabis without feeling burned out, paranoid, or anxious. And let me tell you, this stuff is incredible in helping me with my PTSD symptoms. It's good for relaxing after work or even at work. Great for a day at the beach or on the go. Pacific Sensi flower is non-intoxicating, so it's perfect anytime, really. It's lab tested, federally legal, and discreet shipping comes right to your front door. Pacific Sensi flower is greenhouse grown, seedless, and always fresh. Go to www.pacificsensi.com. That's www.pacificsensi.com to order now. Use promo code TRUTH for 10% off. On December 7th, police arrived at 6200 Montano Plaza Drive Northwest in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in response to a domestic violence call. Mario Diaz had spent the day with his girlfriend at the casino. They had been arguing. They decided to go back home and continued arguing. Mario said to her, "I'm just going to my mom's." She grabbed her spare key and ran after him. Her plan was to leave him. This is what she told Mario's mom. They got to Mario's mom's house. The gate was closed, so they drove to Allsup's on Coors and Blake. Mario went in the store, and his girlfriend got in the driver's seat and left him there. He was able to get a ride from a stranger to the bus stop, and then went back to the apartment. When he got to the apartment, the girlfriend told him that she called the police and he needed to leave. So he took a walk to cool down. No one could have imagined that this would be the day that Mario died. I'm Eric Carter-Landin, and this is True Consequences. Before we get too far into the story of what happened to Mario, I want you to hear what his family had to say about him.
Well, like I said, he was a good guy. He was very energetic, enthusiastic. He always wanted everybody to do their 100%. He always pushed everybody to be better and do better. He wanted to live life at the fullest. Whenever he had an opportunity to go on a trip, he went. He'd be gone sometimes and we didn't even know. He's at a 49er game taking pictures and we're like, oh, wow, when did you go there? But he was a 49er fan, of course. But he'd be in Florida taking pictures of the beach because he had an opportunity to go with friends for a birthday party and just doing everything he could possibly do. He enjoyed life so much. And he was a father of 3 boys that are now teenagers and are missing their dad so bad because now it's time for dad to give them that manly advice. And it's been really hard for them. And he was looking forward to that time. He had told his ex-wife, he said, yeah, okay, now it's my turn to step in and be parent. But he would see his boys at least 3 times a week. And he wanted to see more of them, even at that. So he was an active parent. He was an active worker. He worked as a personal trainer at Cycle Bar and Spanga. In the past, he was at Orange Theory, and everybody there just loved him. They always said what a great coach he was, how inspirational he was, how he motivated them to reach their goals, and he always had the best music to play, and they just loved him. He was a good guy. I have something that I wanted to read that was written by the mother of his sons. The human in Mario was his loving heart, his charismatic personality, his love for family, his motivation that was driven by being a good dad for the boys, his desire to be a better person, and never give up on himself or the people around him. His ability to see the good in people, his desire for adventure and being pushed to high levels of physical exertion. His luminous smile and personality can never be duplicated. Mario was a man of many talents, hobbies, and goals. He was a man full of love and life. He always said he was a fighter because he never gave up. The human in Mario was not a man who was perfect. He was a man enduring many battles and flaws, but these battles did not stop him from smiling, laughing, or helping others. He laughed in the midst of his pain and walked with an energy of love and support. Mario was always and forever be missed. He was loved by everyone around him. It's not the same without him. And this was written by his ex-wife. You know, most of us that have exes know that we would not say anything like that about our exes.
I can speak from a different perspective as my brother and I were only a year apart. I'm the older sibling, so when we were little, I got to dress him up. He was always a good sport about it. You know, we were our only friends for a long time. In elementary school, we had like bike clubs. So like we used to ride bikes. We used to play outside. We were on the chess team together. Like we did a lot together as kids. And then as we got older, we still hung out as teenagers. And then early adult years, I was 25 when I became pregnant with my daughter, and knowing that I was going to have a child, he also decided that he wanted to have a child, and him and his wife started. So our kids are only a year apart. We got to experience all of that together. My brother was he was a great guy. You know, he, like my mom said, he always had a positive energy about him. He always wanted a new adventure. He would encourage people to just live life, enjoy life. He was a foodie. He could cook really, really well, but he got tired of everybody asking him to cook all the time. And when he cooked for himself, he was like angry cooking sometimes. He would make just whatever. He's like, yeah, you just got to have a protein and your rice and throw in veggies. And I'm like, that doesn't even look good. And he's like, I'm just going to put hot sauce on it. And that's who he was. You know, he's like, you gotta eat to live, not live to eat. And I'm like, I don't know. The waffle thing you made last night says otherwise. But my brother was always thin, and I was always envious of that because he would eat, like he was a gamer also. So he had the workout side of him, but he was also an all-night gamer. So I would get home from work sometimes when we still lived together, and he'd be on the couch in the middle of trying to beat some kind of game with a plate that had waffles and cereal and ice cream and syrup, and it just, wow. But, you know, that's what he did. He enjoyed games. He enjoyed living. When he had kids, he enjoyed his kids. He would take them gaming. They'd be up in the room with, he had the blackout curtains going, doing all, and then he'd be like, oh, we've been in here too long. We're going to get outside and get physical. So he'd go take them to the skate park and take them to play basketball. And, and like my mom said, he would be on a trip and be like, oh, look, Mario's not here. He's at a game somewhere. We'd be mad. How come he didn't invite? How come he didn't say he was going? But he would just take off and go. And I had some of my friends that I worked with went to the gym where he was a coach, and he was by far one of the favorites. Mario always has the good playlist. Mario always is encouraging. He's the only one that talked to me since I've been going to the gym. And, he always made sure he saw everybody. He was that's the way he was. When you were around him, even if you were mad at him, the way he smiled at you made you forget you were mad at him. And you would just go with it because you just wanted to be there and be happy with him.
I think she mentioned the chess club when he was little. I don't know. I thought he was in kindergarten, but maybe he was in first grade. He came and asked me, he says, Mom, will you teach me how to play chess? And I said, well, mijo, that's a hard game. It's a little complicated. Maybe when you're a little older. So he comes back about 2 weeks later. Hey, Mom, you want to play a game of chess? He went and found somebody else to teach him how to play chess. And he got so good at it. They had a chess club at school, thanks to Brad Earlywine, who was an inspiration to a lot of the kids there at Alamos Elementary. He would have to look for tournaments for elementary school kids because there wasn't back then. I don't know if there even is now. But he found this one. It was the high school national chess tournaments. And we took the kids, and here's this little scrawny Mario, all skinny, and he was beating all the high schoolers. They were getting so mad. He took 23rd in the nation.
Wow.
Brought home a trophy that was as big as him. And he was just so proud of that. But that was in elementary. When he went to junior high, there wasn't anything like that for him. So he had to find other ways of entertainment. Mm-hmm. But I mean, whatever he wanted to do, he did it 100%. He did not give up. He did not go halfway. He went full force and made sure he succeeded in what he did. He was a really good guy. He did the Spartan games. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. I mean, there's a picture of him jumping over a row of flame. No, he was just a good guy all around.
As you know, we never shy away from discussing the struggles of victims in their lives. Today is no exception. Let's listen to Marie as she discusses the struggles that Mario had in his life.
Like I said, with junior high is where he started not finding things to entertain himself with. Mm-hmm. And that's where they started with the tagging crews. Mm. And he got involved with just spray painting walls. He wasn't really gang related, but he would show me billboards where he climbed way to the top. And it was just entertainment for him. It was thrilling. It was exciting. But then, of course, there's also drugs that wind up getting involved in there. And, he did run into trouble with the law when he was young. And he did have a year in jail that really affected him. He never wanted to go back to jail again. Sure. It broke his heart to be away from his kids, and he knew what he did was wrong, and he never wanted to go back and do that again. He didn't. So when he came out and he was on probation, he made sure he followed every rule to the point. I make kombucha. And he's, Mom, I can't drink that kombucha. I might not have a clean, I got to be clean for my test.
Because it's like a fermented tea, right? So
there's
there could be some trace alcohol.
Right, right. And so he wouldn't even drink that. And so he, and then the struggle to find an apartment, to find a job. Sure. Once you have a record is really hard. But he pushed and pushed and pushed, and he took some kind of training so that he could be a personal trainer. And, so he could do something with his life. He didn't want to go back to cooking. He had been working at Flying Star. He worked at all the different Flying Stars. They would send him when a new one opened. He would go and train people what to do and how to get the store up and running. But he was tired of doing that. So he decided he wanted to do personal training. We found out that when he was in jail, he was actually doing it in jail with the guys over there. He was teaching them nutrition and teaching them personal training. Wow. Over there. So when he came out, that's what he was interested in. So he did the training and got certified, and Orange Theory gave him a chance, and he did real good work over there. He really enjoyed it. And then, other places wanted him, and he got the job, and he winded up with a nice place to live that had a bedroom for each one of his boys to live in. But he always had that struggle with drugs and alcohol. He had one foot in and one foot out, and it got a hold of him. It just got a hold of him.
Yeah, it's easy for people who haven't had experience, either personally or in their family, with somebody who's struggling with addiction issues. It's not something that you can just one day just up and fix, right? Yeah. It's an ingrained thought pattern. There's a lot of research behind the fact that it is a form of mental illness. It is not, it's not easy to deal with. And it takes so much internal strength, but also so much support around the person. There are people who think, oh, this person used drugs, so they deserve whatever happened to them. And that's never the case. And it's never okay. Just because their struggle looks different than yours doesn't mean that Now, let's start to look at what happened on the day that Mario was killed. As I stated earlier in the episode, Mario was having a fight with his girlfriend at their apartment after spending the day gambling with her. Mario went for a walk to cool off during the heated exchange. While on the walk, his girlfriend called the police on him, claiming that he had hit her. When Mario returned from the walk, he was greeted by 2 police officers.
From what we know, their day started out, he was with a girlfriend at the time. Their day started out at, they were at the casino.
The casino.
They were at the casino. Mario did enjoy all of these highs in life. He did enjoy gambling. They did drink and things like that. They started the day out at the casino. From there, they went home. We know there was some type of argument. Something happened. He wanted to go to his mom's house. So he had asked, just take me to my mom's, because he didn't have his car at the time. So they go to my mom's house and assume that nobody is home because the gate is closed. So they leave there, go back home. Somewhere in between all of this, a domestic violence call is put in. The police respond to his home address where his current girlfriend is. She lets them know what she experienced, what happened. Mario shows up at the apartment during this time. He had left. As his family, we know this to be a pattern of his. If there is something going on that he doesn't like, he will leave. He will take a walk. He will think it out. He will take a break, come back later. Let's talk it out rationally. He doesn't stay in a situation that's uncomfortable or negative to him. So, anyway, he shows up at the apartment. The police then draw their weapons. They're wanting, put your hands behind your back, So he does. They take him, lead him down to the cop car, the vehicle, the deputy's vehicle. He's in the vehicle for a while. He's asking questions. He's talking to the officers, or the one officer that was down there with him. We watch the cams and we can see what everybody else saw on the news. They sped up the video from the backseat of the car. And just as his family looking at that, we can tell that he's in a panic. My brother's in a panic. He is, the way he's breathing, the expressions on his face. My mom told you about his experience with jail. I mean, you can imagine, to a person with such a free spirit and a zest for life, prison is the worst, right? He doesn't want to go back there. It's close to the holidays. It's COVID. He's got, that affected his career. So he's thinking about all of this. And I know he is, because he also had the conversation with the officers mentioning all of these things. So he's getting, back into work, all of this stuff. It was December 7th. So the holidays are right around the corner, but he's in a panic. He, winds up slipping a cuff, and he, gets out of the vehicle, the deputy's vehicle. The deputy, tells him to get back in or get back here, whatever he said. And, almost immediately, you can hear my brother apologizing. He's saying, sorry, I'm sorry. The female officer is also there almost instantly, it seems like, from the cams. He's saying, I'm sorry. And they're yelling at him to get on his stomach. And he's telling them he's trying. I'm trying, please, guys, please. I'm human. He's pleading with them to let him comply. And within minutes, he is shot and killed. But there was, it's hard because you don't see the normal warnings that you're used to hearing. You don't hear anybody say, hey, put your hands up or I'm going to shoot you. There are, he's being tased. He's on the floor wrestling with these two officers. From the footage, he doesn't appear to be in a position where he can actually get on his stomach. It looks physically impossible. So to hear him telling them things like, we're human, guys, please. And then moments later, hear the gunshots, and that's it. His life is over. He's gone. And, they had said like, oh, he has my gun, shoot him. And he didn't have the gun.
So he wasn't armed.
No.
I mean, he was already in the car at this point. So if he would have had any weapons on him, they would have taken them from him. If he had a knife in his pocket or whatever, they would have found that.
Yeah.
So what was the threat to them that they felt that they needed to shoot him?
That's why we've looked at the videos over and over and over again to try and figure out, why were you so threatened that you felt you had to shoot him? Derek Gallegos was the male officer and Taylor Feist was the female. And he looks at her and he says, well, he had you by the hair. Oh, yeah. He was going to slam my face to the ground. Everything they said was like, he could have done this. He may have done this. I think maybe he was getting my gun. She was in a panic. I thought maybe he was going to shoot her. Everything was a guessing game. You don't kill somebody because you're guessing. You better know that that man has a gun or that man has a knife or that your life is being threatened. You don't just kill somebody because maybe, he pulled my hair. No, that's not the way it works. Mm-hmm. You don't get to say, oh, my bad. My gun was in the holster the whole time. I just didn't feel it. It's that's what happened. That's what happened. They panicked and they just shot him. The witnesses that were there say they just shot him. I don't know what happened. They were struggling and then all of a sudden they just shot him. And he was standing, I swear, it must have been 18 inches away from his head. And you're looking straight at the dude. You could have said, let me see your hands, but nothing. They just shot him.
The female officers claimed that her gun was missing and directed the male officer to shoot him. She specifically says, my gun is gone, shoot him. And he did. He did, without checking, without looking at the female officer, without anything, he shot him. One thing that's hard is prior to Mario getting out of the car and prior to them shooting him, he is asking to tell his side of the story from the night. So what I have to say doesn't matter. He's asking to express himself as well because he's realizing that one side of the story has been told. They didn't allow him to. We'll never know exactly what happened that night. We'll never know his side of the story.
Yeah, he didn't even know what he was being charged. Well, he wasn't being charged. He wasn't being arrested. He was supposed to be being detained. And in that point, you question the other person, but they weren't quite. The male officer, Derek, was waiting for Taylor Feist to come down. Like he was letting her run the show for some reason. She was directing him to go get paperwork and go do this and go do that. And he was just like following all her orders. And I don't know why. There was no reason for that. So when she yelled at him to shoot him, well, he was compliant because he had been following her orders all night. Doesn't make any sense. It was when they came to my house at 3:00 in the morning to let me know that my son had been fatally wounded, which in the first place, that's an insult because fatal is you're dead, wounded, you're going to the hospital. But apparently they've been instructed to say it that way because maybe it doesn't sound so bad. I don't know. But I told the officer, I said, well, my son wasn't armed. And he says, well, we can't talk about that now. Well, I know he wasn't armed. He did not arm himself. He did not even carry one of those little miniature bats. He didn't do any of that. He didn't believe in that. He did not arm himself ever. So, I mean, I knew since then that he was not armed. And I got mad, but I couldn't, I didn't say anything. All I could say was, okay, like, what do we do now? Now I got to call everybody at 3:30 in the morning and let them know that they had killed my son.
Did they say there was going to be an investigation into it or anything?
Well, they sent the report. Well, after we asked, we had to ask several times, and they did send the report and said their investigation was over, and now they were going to turn it over to the DA's office. So, but we do have people looking at it. There are people looking at it.
And now I want to read verbatim for you from the police report that was given to me by the family of Mario Diaz. On December 7th, 2021, deputies with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to a domestic dispute at 6200 Montano Plaza Drive, Northwest. Deputies spoke with the alleged victim and determined a misdemeanor battery against a household member had occurred near the area of Coors Boulevard Southwest and Blake Road Southwest in Bernalillo County. Deputies determined Mario Diaz had allegedly battered and she escaped in her vehicle and returned to her apartment. While speaking with inside apartment 623, Mario arrived and was placed under arrest by deputies. Mario was escorted to a patrol vehicle where he was unhandcuffed momentarily to remove a backpack to conduct a search incident to arrest. While detained in the rear of the patrol vehicle, Mario asked the deputy for a restroom break. The deputy opened the rear door of the patrol vehicle and Mario had slipped his handcuffs. Mario exited and fought with both deputies. Deputies used non-lethal and less lethal techniques including taser, closed fist strikes, wrist lock, and rear sit-out, but were unable to gain control of Mario. Mario held a deputy by her hair and neck and refused to let her go. Fearing she would be strangled or killed, the deputy attempted to draw her duty handgun to shoot Mario. But the handgun was not inside of her holster. Fearing the handgun was in Mario's possession and he would use it against deputies, the second deputy drew and discharged his handgun, fatally wounding Mario. The multi-agency task force was activated and investigated the incident. So that is the official report from the police, and I'm going to go on with that in a little bit, but it is different from what the family says. Not only did the family have a different account, but when you watch the videos, there definitely is a different account of events that is actually closer to what Mario's family say happened, which is interesting considering that these are all police lapel videos as well as a couple of cell phone videos. I'm going to continue on with the police report. I conducted a walkthrough of the scene, which was in the inner perimeter and was sectioned off with yellow crime scene tape. Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office crime scene investigations detectives were on scene and had begun processing. The scene was in the parking lot of an apartment complex south of Building 6. I observed a deceased male subject in the area lying near the sidewalk, and there was a large amount of blood on the pavement. The male appeared to be wearing a gray jacket with a red-orange shirt underneath. The male was wearing brown pants and black and white sneakers. I observed 2 tasers on the scene, one near the decedent's left arm and another near his right foot. The taser near his right foot appeared to have been deployed with wires visible. A pair of silver handcuffs lied between the decedent's feet. I observed blood near the decedent's head and what appeared to be a single gunshot wound on the left side of his head, a medical kit and bandages nearby. The male's left hand appeared freshly bruised and purple. His right wrist had a handcuff around it and the other handcuff dangled down toward the pavement. I did not touch or remove anything through the walk. Okay. Now I want you to hear from an eyewitness statement that was collected from the police. A resident in the apartment building who lived alone did witness and had a recording on his phone of the incident. The following is a brief summary of the interview. At approximately 21:33 hours, witness was in his kitchen cooking when he heard someone yelling outside. Initially, he was looking out the door of the balcony and couldn't see anything, so he walked onto the balcony. He saw 3 people wrestling and yelling. He was able to see that someone thrown to the ground, possibly the female officer and the bald man. Heard someone yelling, "I didn't do anything," and "I didn't do anything." He heard the female officer yelling, "Don't grab me," and "Don't touch me." He saw what he believed to be the flashing light or spark of a taser. The female officer was on top, and maybe the man was trying to get up, and the female officer yelled, "Stop grabbing me." The male officer jumped up and brandished his weapon. The witness ducked and heard 2 gunshots. After hearing the gunshots, he only recorded for a short period of time, possibly 10 seconds, and then stopped. He then saw the man lying on the ground and the deputies pointed flashlights at him. The video footage was collected from the witness. Here's another witness statement. We will refer to this witness as DB to protect their anonymity. DB seemed tired during this phone call. She explained that she observed deputies tase and shoot a subject and that she had not liked what she observed. She stated they had recorded the incident with her daughter's cell phone. I asked if we could see the video, to which she explained that this was not a good time because she did not want to wake up her daughter, who was traumatized by the incident. She stated she would call me at a later time on the following date to talk about what she saw and possibly supply me with the video. I asked her for her date of birth, but she declined to supply me with this or any other personal information, stating that she did not really want to be involved. Police did get a search warrant in order to seize the video, but the video was turned over by the witness on her own accord without mention of the search warrant. The video was burned to a CD and deposited into a secure evidence locker. From apartment 822, witness ST was laying on her bed and heard gunshots but didn't see anything prior to that. She looked out the window and officers were standing over the subject who was on the ground, not moving. The cell phone video does show how the 2 officers and Mario ended up on the ground. Deputy Gallegos did a maneuver that put them all on the ground. Eyewitnesses said that they didn't understand why police would shoot somebody immediately after tasing them. And finally, I want you to listen to the family as they let you know what you can do to help them in their fight for accountability and justice.
Well, I want police to be aware of what they're doing. I mean, I know their job is hard. I can't even imagine. But they need to know before they pull out that gun if they really need to. Do you really have to shoot this person? Do you really have to kill them? Like, think about it. They're people. Like he was yelling that night, I'm human. I'm human. We're human. He was trying to tell them, let's act like human beings here. Let's sit down and talk about this. This doesn't have to be happening right now. But just they need to be aware. What are they doing? And when you know of an officer that is doing wrong, you need to report it. Because we've seen on the news so many times kids getting punched in the face with 3 officers on top of them and so many things that they're doing that they don't need to be doing. I mean, I know they're scared. They're in fear. They might get shot. They might be killed. But you need to do better.
Yeah.
You need to do better.
Yeah.
And I know we need more police officers and more training and better training and training on mental health and training on when somebody is drunk and high and not in their right mind.
Or in crisis.
Yes, in crisis. Because most of the time when the police are called out, it's because they're in crisis. It's not because, they're calm and just sitting there. No, there's a crisis going on.
And it's not fair to expect a police officer who is not college trained on mental health to be able to handle a situation like that and de-escalate it in a way that a trained mental health professional might be able to do, right? Like, I think that's an important thing that we're seeing in a lot of communities in the U.S. as we're starting to look at some of this police violence, right? We see that a lot of times it is a mental health issue, and we do need people there that can de-escalate the situation to get everyone to just calm down for a second. So, you can get a resolution on that.
Right now we have a Justice for Mario Facebook page where we're trying to keep people updated on what we need from them. Mm-hmm. And on there, what we need is we need the Attorney General and we need the District Attorney's Office to look at the case. We need them to look at it objectively and just, give him a fair, I don't know what you would call it because it's not a trial. He's gone, right?
Fair investigation.
Yeah, a fair investigation. Ultimately, what would be really amazing is if, as a human race, we realized that our officers do deserve better training because, it's been said over and over again, it takes longer to become a beautician than it does to become a police officer, including those things for mental health, including the signs of addiction, including some type of de-escalation courses, including, how to there's so many steps they're supposed to go through before they result to a deadly weapon. And so having more time to practice those other steps before even getting issued a deadly weapon would be I think would be a good idea. Because in a panic, you're a human, just like everybody's a human. You go for the big guns. I'm panicked. I don't know what's going to happen. This is for sure going to take care of everything. I get that we're all human, and I'm not anti-police. I am anti-killing, though. I don't think that as humans we have the right to take life from other humans. I don't agree with that.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with asking for accountability when it comes to these kinds of situations. Yes, law enforcement is an important part of our society. But I do think that there also are other means of dealing with issues like this and dealing with situations like this that don't have to result in such a use of force. So, and I'm, somebody who believes in the justice system, who believes in law enforcement and thinks that there are good sides to those things. Of course, anything that humans are involved in is not going to be perfect, right? There's always going to be problems and challenges and issues, but we could set them up for success. We could set them up to be more effective, right? My listeners can follow the Justice for Mario page on Facebook to keep up to date with what's going on.
This is something that my sister wrote about Mario. My last memory of my nephew, Mario, is at Marie's home where he was seated in one of the big chairs and his sons were around him, literally around on top of, just all over him. I remember their big smiles, the glow of love between Mario and his sons. Whenever Sis would have a family gathering, I would always ask, "Where's Mario?" It was so disappointing when he wasn't able to be there. I remember how he put up with my constant whining about my weight, and he would lovingly encourage me. I always knew he meant it and was not just trying to escape his crazy Auntie Barb. Well, back to the chair memory, I thought at the time, what an unusual sight for boys to show their feelings like that with their dad. Usually it's all tough guy stuff with boys. When Mario was unjustly taken from us, it not only broke our hearts, but shattered as well. It's a usual and polite thing to speak well. The angel's not with us any longer. But when speaking about Mario, none of it is exaggerated. I will keep his beautiful smiling face with me until we meet again with Jesus.
Thanks for listening, and stay safe, New Mexico.